Welcome back to the Oracle Analytics Summit 2020. Over the next few hours, we're going to drill into the Oracle Analytics roadmap. We're going to cover Oracle Analytics Cloud, Oracle Analytics Server. So you'll get a lot of details on where we're going. So make sure you take notes and ask questions as the session is going on. You will also get to hear from Donald Farmer, a thought leader in the space, that will give you his perspective on our content as it relates with market trends. All this content is available to you on demand, so you can watch it anytime you want, and you can share it anytime you want with your colleagues and folks that are at your company helping you be successful. But before we get into today's program, I want to introduce you to a new segment called Ask OA. We told you the OA Summit was designed to make sure you got your questions answered. And for this, we've created today's program where we take your questions and answer them one after the next. And to submit your questions, it's never been easier. You go to oracle.com/ask-OA. You can submit your questions via simple text questions. And if you're courageous, you can also do that via video question. In fact, that's our first question of the day, a question from Miles at Proficient. Let's listen to his question.
In watching TK Anand's keynote and looking at all the demos, the word that kept coming to mind was convergence, where the platforms are converging and people are able to interact with data no matter where it's stored in all sorts of different ways. And I also read something about an initiative, One Oracle Analytics, I think I saw. And I just wonder if you could comment on what that initiative is and kind of what the vision is for that.
Miles, that's a great question. Thank you for sending that. In fact, I've asked Joey Fitz to come in and answer the first part of your question. Joey?
Yeah, Miles, great question. You mentioned convergence, and that's what we're reading about as well. You may have seen from Gartner, Carly Edwin has been writing about the collision and convergence of AI and BI, the capabilities around how you prepare data, how you manage models, how you visualize that information. This is done both by data scientists and data engineers and business analysts. So how do these different roles converge to be able to leverage these different capabilities? It's something we've been focused on. We also look at Edisham Zaidi's research on data catalog and Mark Baer on data fabric. And you see how these roles are really evolving to be able to manage multiple different capabilities in multiple different ways. So the evolution of those roles shows that convergence of capabilities, and it's something that we're really focused on with One Oracle, as you mentioned. We want to make sure that all these different capabilities that we have for analytics in the database, in the cloud, in the applications that we deliver, enable these different roles, the people within your business, to accomplish these tasks seamlessly and without friction.
That's excellent, Miles. As you know, the One Oracle Analytics story is a complete one that aims at all roles across all the assets that Oracle has to offer. Now, more concretely, for your questions on Cloud SQL, there are two sessions that you should go out and check out. Of course, you all saw the demo of Cloud SQL on May 12th. That was about really querying across all types of data. We talked about Hadoop, of course, object storage, and using Kafka streaming. And of course, there's a session on May 26th that details how it was done. Great session by Marty Gruber. Make sure that you go out and watch the recording for that session. Now let's take a question from Ed at InnoApps about data catalog.
Ed asks, will the data catalog be able to crawl over data sources and create its own metadata? Maybe even generate its own structures in either a data lake or a relational database? And in general, what role is data catalog going to play as the analytics platform evolves?
Well, this is a great question. Many of you have asked us about our data catalog's capabilities. In fact, we've asked Abraham, the product manager on Data Catalog, to come in and share his answer. Let's listen to what he has to say.
So the answer is yes, especially for structures like object store, where there is no defined metadata, if you will. We plan to actually crawl that metadata, understand the structure, and build a catalog artifact which can be used by other services, such as OCI Data Flow Service or Cloud SQL Service, so that that abstraction is available to those services over object store. So definitely we plan to do that, offer catalog capabilities as a metadata catalog for system store. The other question was, in general, what are the plans that we have with data catalog integration with analytics services as we go forward? So definitely we have a lot of plans, and we believe that data catalog can work in a bidirectional manner with analytics services. So on one hand, data catalog will capture the metadata, harvest the metadata of OAC objects, for example, and be this holistic catalog repository about all the information assets. That is one part. But on the other hand, analytics users will be able to benefit from the metadata collected in the data catalog while they are using OAC services. So they could understand lineage, they could understand annotations and business context about the tables. Let's say they are using ADW table, they can understand that better. So that way, and then they can also search the catalog, and that way they can actually expand their horizon into finding more information that was not available to them within OAC itself. So definitely we plan to work on both of these items, and we'll keep you posted on how we make progress on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Abhi. That is showing great progress on data catalog. Now, our third question is a question that I thought was particularly interesting. As you know, we like products and we like our technology, and this one is directed at our product managers. Joey, do you want to read that question?
Yeah, our final question is a fantastic one. It comes from Tony Cassidy at Vertice, and he asks, with so much new stuff and progress over the last year, what's your favorite feature? What do you like best about Oracle Analytics?
Now, to make sure we could address this question, we asked our product managers to record a video answer to this question. Let's hear it from them.
Hey, it's Matt here. I'm going to show you a couple cool features in Oracle Analytics. This one's hot off the press. I consider this a convenience feature. It's available in our latest release on the cloud. So if you right-click on any calculation in a data visualization project, you can go ahead and duplicate them. You can also copy the expression to clipboard, which is a great way if you wanted to maybe modify a calculation that's maybe a pretty hard to edit, or is a long calculation, you want to throw it in the text editor. It's going to be easier for you to copy and paste and move things around. You can certainly do that. But duplicate's great because you can now duplicate your calculation and modify it and make changes to that calculation without affecting your original one. Great convenience feature introduced in our latest release. Another feature that's been around for a while is the searchable homepage. This searchable homepage actually really replaces the need for any other page here. You can just quickly search for any of your content. So I'll just type sample project and hit enter. And it's going to come back with the sample projects, which is what I wanted, plus a bunch of other things that might be related, either the data sets used in the sample project or the word sample or project is used in these. I actually have a lot of sample data, so you see a bunch of answers, reports, and dashboards down below that might be relevant, but really what I was looking for is right at the top. Also, you may or may not know this, but the search bar is also used to search for data. So if I type sales, I get my recent searches, but then I also get some sales that might be important to me. These are data sets that have been indexed either by the person who created the data set or my administrator. And I'll go ahead and choose sales for this particular data set. And it's going to just give me a number. Simple question, simple answer. But I can kind of go on from there. I'll type orders because I'm familiar with what's going on in this data set. I'm going to type choose order priority, and then I'll type product. And you can see right away it's just generating a bunch of visualizations for me. It doesn't know exactly what I'm looking for, so it's going to give me a variety depending on how much I've typed in my search bar. So let's do costs. You can see there is actually no measure called cost. It's called shipping cost. And it's created a bunch of great visualizations that might actually answer my question right away and might help me in starting a new analysis. So I'll just click this button and I'll start a new analysis on that visualization. This is a great way to enable your users to get quick answers to really simple questions, and is really the stepping stone to building a search-based data experience for your users, and will really enable and empower our mobile app, Oracle Analytics Day by Day. Hope you like these two features. Like I said, the first one is new. The second one's been around for a while, but I wanted to show it off. Thanks.
Hello, this is Ash. I'm going to talk about my favorite feature of OAX, which is the GL budget subject area. Most of our finance users are interested in comparing budgets to actuals at the account level. All that we ask our customers to do is to load the budget data in ERP Cloud, and it'll be extracted, made available through this subject area called GL budget. Now, when you want to do the comparison for a P&L account, you will go to GL profitability subject areas, pick your specific natural account that you're interested in, and then you also have available the information for budgets for specific natural accounts. And by leveraging the data from these two subject areas, you will be able to do comparison for budget versus actuals. If you need more information about this feature, you can go to the product guide where we have more details available on GL budget subject area.
Hey everyone. So any feature which makes a very complex thing very simple to use is a favorite feature of mine. For Oracle Analytics, for applications, we recently released quite a few new features. Many of them are my favorites, but I would say the top of the charts would be Team Analytics. So here it is. To build this, we had to get data first from multiple sources. Some of this data is coming from HCM Cloud, some of it is coming from Sales Cloud, and yet some other is coming from external data from engagement service for the company. So first step, getting data from multiple sources. Second, a simple view which enables us to consume a lot of KPIs in one go and with context, right? So in one single view, there's no scroll bar here. In one single view, I'm able to understand not only the overall health of the organization and the final business impact, I'm able to understand overall health of the sales organization and the overall potential attainment for this specific team, as well as individual sales directors within that team. And then further, it's actionable, which is again important for analytics. One single view, which is bringing data from multiple sources, helping business leaders and HR leaders make a decision. Absolutely one of my favorite features. Thank you.
Well, that was a great session. I hope you got a ton of value as well, and we got to some of the burning questions you have. Now, continue sending those questions because we have another session just like this on July 14th. Now, how do you do that? It's very simple. Go to oracle.com/askoa, and you can send your question via text, or you can record a video of your question. Make sure you send that today, and see you in July. Now, the purpose of this summit is, of course, to give you perspectives from inside Oracle, but as you saw, we had partners and customers come in and give you their best practices. We also wanted to get market thought leaders to come in and give you their perspective. This month, we're starting with Donald Farmer, who's going to give you his thoughts on the content as well as how it relates with the rest of the market. Let's listen to that interview. Donald, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Great pleasure.
Let's start through your perspective. You watched the keynote. But you've also watched a few of the other sessions since May 12th.
Sure.
What do you take away from all this month that we've been sharing all these great stories and best practices?
Yeah, no, it's been fascinating watching it online. There's been some great content, and you have to inevitably contrast it with the event that we did last year, where we were down in a kind of fantastic location in California, and we all could come together in one location. And the contrast between the two events is not just the location and the fact that we're now watching it online. There's a lot of great technology that we hadn't seen before or we hadn't really been paying attention to in the community. And so, it was a great opportunity for Oracle to really roll out the boat and say, here's what we've been working on. Let's catch you up and technically get us up to speed as an analyst community. So that was great. It was a great opportunity to do that. It was a great location. And now this year, very, very different climate, of course, in many ways. And what we really saw this year was not so much technical content, although there was plenty of that, but really then catches your attention. The customer stories, the enterprise integration. This year was more about getting it done in execution than it was about getting us up to speed technically. And I think that was valuable in itself, and I think it was appropriate for the circumstances we find ourselves in. And it was also very valuable because it gave us, I think, a lot of those things to talk about, that this is not just interesting technology, but it's practical, it's out there in the real world being used. So I found that very valuable.
That's great. And if this is the first time you're interacting with the Oracle Analytics community, the recordings from last year actually are available online. So if you don't know or you don't remember our vision, last year was really about clarifying and simplifying that vision for you, so you know what we're investing in. So those recordings are available as well for you to share with your community. And this year was really about sharing best practices. So I'm happy you picked up on that, Donald, and I'm happy it's useful to you as well as being an analyst in the space. We talked about the concept of domain analytics. So I know you've been following the space for a long time, and you have an opinion on domain analytics. So what should people do about this whole trend of, in a way, analytics applications for serving business users?
Yeah, so I like the concept of domain analytics more than I like the concept of analytic applications. We've all, I've been in this industry a long time, and certainly long enough to see several generations of analytic applications come and go. And one of the problems with an analytic application is that it attempts to distill what you need to know about a specific domain into a little kind of nugget that can be repackaged. And inevitably, it ends up being either too restrictive in terms of the limitations of what it shows, difficult to customize, and then very often very difficult to upgrade. And what people really need is not everything prepackaged as an application, but they need analytics that understand the domain they are working in, which is a very different thing. So in other words, analytics which are intelligent about the domain, rather than an application which just gives you prepackaged, pre-digested kind of nuggets of what the application designer thinks you need to know. So for me, domain analytics it's important in that sense. It's not just repackaged knowledge. It is actually analytic power, which enables you to do anything from strategic to tactical, operational, ad hoc investigation. But that power is complemented with deep domain knowledge of what's actually required to do analysis in that field.
I love the way you're saying it, intelligent about the domain, because, when we talked about the value of the product, the natural inclination is to talk about the technology advantage. Of course, you've got the database pipeline that's done for you, and you've got automated content that now pops up and can be extended. But I do think that the value, the business value you get out of it is all these years of understanding the domain and being able to provide schemas and a starting point so people can do something that is relevant to them. So of course, we don't expect that the application that we've created is the answer to all of it. It really is a starting point. So they can.
Well, it actually shouldn't be either. That's the point.
That's right.
It shouldn't be the answer to everything. And it does need to be a starting point for analytics. And the distinction I would want to make is that if you go into any domain application nowadays, go into an HR application, go into a financials application, go into a sales application, of course there's reporting built into that. And in fact, in many cases, there are dashboards built in. So they've already covered like the first and second generation of reporting in BI, and that's now commoditized. Everybody's got that. If you buy an application that doesn't have reporting built in, then, frankly, you've missed an opportunity. The next stage has really got to be to empower people to do analytic work in that domain. And that's where domain analytics becomes pretty interesting.
And cross-domain as well. I think the breakthrough for us is we had delivered the ERP solution last year. And, at the May 12th keynote, we announced the HCM domain analytics. And the breakthrough here is not just the HCM, this domain by itself, but now it's the ability to bring financial data and HR data into the same environment so you can do analytics across two domains, and even further extend into non-Oracle systems with different types of data, survey, whatever you might have as a customer. I think that's really where the industry is going. It's not just one domain. It's the ability to give you kind of what we used to talk about as a 360 view of your business.
Well, it's a 360 view of the business, but it's also, a view from a particular standpoint.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you're in the idea of a 360 degree view of the business was always, let's get all your business data into one place. The problem with that is that there are very few people who need to see everything, but equally, there's very few people who only need to see information in their domain. What they actually need to see is their domain in a context. And it's that context that matters. It's the ability to take your domain knowledge and contextualize it in the business. That doesn't require you to be able to see everything, but it does require you to be able to choose the domains at which you integrate with. And it's a great example. I think HCM is a great example. There's a lot of information that we have within our HR systems about people. There's a lot of information we have in our financial systems, which are relevant to that, and being able to integrate the two and give you a genuinely exploratory capability across the two enables you to ask questions that you couldn't do before. Yeah. And what's really important about that is that if from the Oracle point of view, or from the Oracle customer point of view, even more importantly, you've already invested in these applications. And so, you you need to get the extra value out of them. There's an emergent property. I always say, that data without analysis is just a cost center. And the next step beyond is that analytics without action is wasted effort. So we have to, if you've got data and you're getting all that data in systems which are managed for you, or which you're managing yourself, whether it's on premises or in the cloud, you have to be able to integrate insights across those systems in order to get the most out of them.
That's great. And, the context here, I think that's the key word here is you might not want to analyze HR data, but you might be able to benefit from HR data in the context in which you're analyzing. A lot of people asked us, why didn't you start with sales and marketing? Why finance and HR? And, we started with that because it's the most essential data. It's probably the hardest data to work with. Financial has got to be accurate and HR is going to be highly secure. And so bringing those two domains together, I think sets us up well for success for the other.
Well, it's a cliche that people are our greatest asset, but they genuinely are. So it makes sense to start with your greatest asset. And actually, in the particular circumstances we find ourselves in right now, and people working at home and lockdown and a pandemic, understanding your people issues is more important than ever. That really is actually the critical understanding.
That's right. Now, there's a lot of other trends that people hear about. They've heard for a few years now about this trend of augmented analytics. And so some people it's a buzzword, some people it's essential. What's your take on that? What should they do about augmented analytics?
Augmented analytics really comes, I perhaps have a slightly different view of this from other people, but augmented analytics comes from the idea that as human beings, we have great analytic capabilities ourselves. In fact, we still have insights that artificial intelligence systems can't get close to having. I mean, a great example of that would be just looking at HR. We understand things looking at HR systems that other people don't. We understand motivations. We understand, deficiencies. We understand achievements in a way that artificial intelligence systems would struggle with. And but at the same time, we can't possibly have those insights across all the data that's there because we'd be looking, in many cases, at companies with tens of thousands of employees. So what we need to be able to do is find what is significant quickly, orient ourselves in the system, find ourselves, glimpsing something that's important because the system has brought attention to it. And then we can bring our human understanding, which includes everything from our empathy to our emergent intelligence, bring that to bear on these problems. And so you can think of augmented analytics that way. It enables us to do what we're good at as human beings with a scale and a power that we couldn't possibly do on our own. And I think that's super important. It's actually more important than any of the intelligence that's built into the system. It's the fact that it works with our intelligence is what makes it significant.
That's a great summary. I think a lot of the term augmented probably came as a reaction of people thinking, oh my gosh, machines are taking over and they're not replacing, they're augmenting. So I think that was probably a way for the industry to reassure what was actually happening. I mean, for me, I see it as a, just like you said, a combination of human and machine, but also the reality that AI and BI are coming together, where there are parts of the process today that AI can augment for us. And there are parts where humans can augment what the machine is.
Well, I think that's really important, So we talk about augmented this way around normally. We say the machines are augmenting us with, they're bringing artificial intelligence to us. But as automation becomes more complete and more capable, and there are already many circumstances where business processes can be highly automated, we can augment those processes with our abilities and our understanding. So I see a lot of business processes which are ready for automation, but that doesn't mean that you don't need a human being to augment the automated process. So I think we can look at it both ways around. Just now, there's artificial intelligence, and particularly machine learning, which can augment us with a scale and a power that we actually don't have ourselves as human beings. And then we can augment automated systems with our intelligence and empathy and human insight.
What's a good example of maybe empathy at work, if you will, on something?
Right. Well, there's a surprising number of companies who do automated hiring nowadays. These are companies which often have a large turnover of employees. They might be in manufacturing. They might have seasonal demand for employees. So, they need, come holiday season or come summer or whatever, depending on what their business is, they may need to hire large numbers of people fairly quickly. And you can automate hiring processes nowadays. You use artificial intelligence to look at resumes to find out who's interesting. And then because if the business is of a certain nature, like say in manufacturing, there may be a relatively low risk to getting it wrong. So you automate the hiring process, and you can make offers, and you can bring people on board and start to onboard them. But a human being can do two things, which they can bring to that. The first is they can look for outliers and exceptions and say, no, that just doesn't look right. It may go past the algorithm, but we don't like the look of that. Or the other way around, we actually think this is somebody who could be doing something a lot more. And then the other thing that the human being can do, of course, is once people actually start working, the human being is in a much better position to assess them and then to augment the system that way by providing human assessments, which then in turn enables you to train the system better so that the system isn't self-assessing. So I think in those ways, human beings great at spotting the patterns and outliers, with a kind of human instinct, if you like, for what looks right and what looks wrong, but also great at doing the kind of human level assessments of whether somebody is actually performing the way that we expected them to, and therefore if the algorithm is performing the way that we want it to.
That's an excellent example. In fact, it reminds me of two specific items that people should go out and take a look at. One, in the scenario of hiring process, the home office example, in fact, in our customer panel, is all about that. Started with a process that took 150 days to hire. Kathy needed to hire 6,000 people, and using analytics and detecting the places where the bottlenecks were, she was able to reduce it down to 50 days. So I think it's an example of where AI can help there. But there's also another interview that I did when I was in London of Professor Leikerman on the concept behind decision-making and the difference between the decision-making process and the quality of judgment, which is, I think, where we're getting to here, is that where does judgment come from? And it is a combination of things, of course, you can automate, but of course, things that humans bring to the table, the concept of fairness and the elimination of bias and understanding maybe of things that are not in a database that could be added to the intelligence and the scale and the power of a machine. Since we're talking about trends here, Donald, what are some of the other trends people should consider? We talked about cross-domain analytics. We talked about augmented analytics. What are some of the big trends people should be watching out for?
Well, the related to augmented analytics, I think you have the kind of growth of machine learning, which is essential to augmented analytics, but that's not the only place it's used. And machine learning or data science no longer being just a specialization, but actually becoming mainstream in business. So almost every executive I talk to wants to know where machine learning and data science is going to fit in their business. And inevitably, as you then work with people who are working in the analytics space, whether they're data analysts or business analysts, they're starting to wonder, how do we use it in our space? And do we have to be, data scientists in order to do that? And so there's this really interesting kind of, not conflict would be the wrong word to put it, but an interesting dynamic between people who are specialized in data science and people who are not specialized in data science, but know that they need to do some. And the reason I say it's an interesting dynamic is because data science is becoming in some ways easier technically to do. So many of the things that we used to do in data science still have to do. Data preparation, some of that can be automated, which makes model building can be automated to a certain extent. But understanding what makes a good model and understanding the implications of a model, and understanding the right questions to ask in the first place, what are the appropriate questions, they might be more of an art than a science. And so you end up with this interesting dynamic between people who want to do it and feel they have the tools to do it, and then the people who are specialized in it and see dangers perhaps in more people doing it. And I wonder sometimes if that's just kind of protecting their domain. Data scientists, of course, are a little nervous about seeing so-called citizen data scientists. You know that term. I think Gartner have used that term occasionally in the past. The idea that ordinary people can do data science. If you're a data scientist, that probably sounds pretty threatening. If you're somebody who's got ambitions to do a little bit more data science, then it's actually a pretty exciting time.
Well, let's talk about that, because there is this gigantic trend of the citizen data scientist, and you're right. There's a lot of research from Gartner, I think, that might have coined the term, if I'm not completely incorrect on that. It has an impact on how do I think about my data analysts, who do I hire for, and how does this audience that I was pretty much in control of, I understood what the business analysts used to do, but now these two worlds of BI and AI are colliding, or they're converging in a way. And does that change the way I should hire people or the types of folks I should hire? Or where do I draw the line between the data scientist and the business analyst? So, what's your guidance here for CIOs and VP of analytics are building teams today, and they want to win with a new field where there's a lot of failure today?
Sure. I think if you're hiring and you're thinking specifically of hiring, then it's a great thing to start, with a data scientist. And the reason I say that is because they bring a discipline and an insight that you wouldn't get necessarily from a citizen data scientist. And what I mean by that is they will have some formal understanding of, for example, how to test an algorithm, how to test a use case, how to evaluate the performance of an algorithm. So there's lots of things that a data scientist is trained to do that makes them a very good first hire. And then you can augment that. Typically the next kind of hire after that is a data engineer, somebody who doesn't just do data science, but actually knows how to put data science into production at scale, which is very different from doing data science on its own. So if you're building a data science speciality, definitely that's a way to start. Data scientist, data engineer, maybe a junior data scientist, and then, expand out from there. But if what you're interested in is there some data science we can bring in-house? Is there some way we can encourage citizen data scientists? Then I think the two things that you want to do are not so much necessarily in hiring, they are in how you provision to those people. First of all, you have to provision them with good quality data. And secondly, you have to provision them with a set of tools, which include automated capabilities for data preparation, model testing, model evaluation, and then also include the ability to embed those capabilities into existing business intelligence tools so that they're not stepping outside their current domain of expertise to work in data science. They're bringing data science into their current domain of expertise. So I think those distinctions are something I would make pretty importantly. So, when it comes to your existing business analysts, do you want to hire in data science skill? I'd say it's not necessary, so long as you're not trying to build a specialized data science practice.
I see. You brought an additional point here that I think is important for our audience is this idea of operationalization, embedding the insights inside applications so they can turn into actions. I think you said this a little earlier. What did you say? You said data without analytics and analytics without actions. I don't want to steal your
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, that's right. Well, analytics without data without analytics is a wasted asset, and analytics without action is a wasted effort.
That's an awesome one to close on. Thank you for summarizing all of this for us. I hope this was useful to people that are trying to catch up on what they might have missed over the last month. I mean, there are a few things here you got to remember. The first one is this idea of cross-domain analytics. Domain analytics, you use a great sentence, that have intelligence about the domain, right? It's not just about giving you prepackaged software. It's about providing you with insights that are intelligent about your domain so you can build a better company. I think that was the first insight I took away. The second one is this idea of context. You might not be an HR person, but there might be some analytical context around HR that might be useful to your analysis. And that's the importance of a cross-domain analytics solution. So if you haven't looked into that, you should go take a look at that. And then finally, the idea of how you organize yourself, how AI and BI are coming together, and what types of know-how you should bring into your company. We talked about the data scientists, the analysts, but we also talked about how you empower these people to drive your company business performance. Donald, thank you so much for taking the time today. It's always great to hear your perspective. Talk to you soon. And now for the main session of the day, the analytics roadmap. Now we'll cover two areas. We'll talk about what we've done since we saw each other at the Analytics Summit in 2019, but we'll also talk about the future and the product areas that we're investing in. Now, while the session is going on, make sure that you type in your questions. As we explained before, the purpose of the summit is to make sure that we answer your questions as we go. Tons of opportunities for you to get your questions answered. And of course, at the end of the session, we'll have a survey so you can give us your feedback. We want to hear from you. Are we doing everything we can to serve you best? Let's listen to Gabby Rubin for the Analytics Roadmap session.
Thank you all for joining us today in the Oracle Analytics Summit. My name is Gabby Rubin, and I lead the Oracle Analytics Cloud and Server Product Management team. In our session today, I will be joined by Jacques Vigent, Senior Director of Product Management. Hello, Jacques.
Hi, Gabby.
Are you sure this is 6 feet away?
Now it is.
This seems a bit right. Let's go ahead and start. In our keynote today, we will talk about our vision, strategy, and roadmap for Oracle Analytics Cloud and Server. Oracle Analytics is part of a vast and growing family of Oracle Cloud services and applications offered on Generation 2 Oracle Cloud infrastructure. On the Oracle Cloud, organizations can find anything they need in order to run their business on the most elastic, performant, and secure cloud platform available today. From compute, storage, and other infrastructure needs to enterprise application, data management systems, and data catalog, all the way to development tools, data science platforms, and of course, analytics. These services are accompanied by a wide selection of third-party tools and applications available for quick deployment from the Oracle Cloud Marketplace. All these services come together to allow our customers to customize, create, and deploy end-to-end solutions that fit their needs and the needs of their internal consumers. Going from the data sources, persistent or streamed, to data repositories and catalog to be used for custom development or analysis. To ensure these capabilities are available for everyone and everywhere, we are aggressively and constantly building new data centers. Oracle is planning to have 36 Generation 2 regions by the end of 2020. Oracle Analytics Cloud is a key part of this vast expansion and is already available in 16 Generation 2 regions across 4 continents. Cloud expansion is only one side of our investment. Over the last year, we introduced more than 100 new features into Oracle Analytics Cloud. Anything from connectivity, new visualization, advanced analytics, increased performance and scale, and enhanced security. These new and improved capabilities are being delivered side by side with continuous improvement to our robustness, resiliency, performance, and quality. Oracle and the Oracle Analytics Cloud team is focused on partnering with the community to achieve higher level of customer satisfaction and service excellence. One notable addition to the family was the introduction of Oracle Analytics Server for Linux that brought most of the Oracle Analytics Cloud capabilities to our on-premises customers. But we have not come here to talk about what was already delivered. What we really want to talk about is some of the next 100 plus features that will be coming to the product. Starting with Oracle Analytics Server for Windows, which is coming soon, the use of SQL Server as a repository database for Oracle Analytics Server, and many more functional and management features across the entire stack. Let's dive into some of these highlights. To do so, we will need to start by outlining our core strategy.
Hey, Gabby, can I take a screenshot of that?
The good news, Jack, is that you don't need to. Our roadmap is available on the Oracle website, so you can get frequent updates on what's coming. Looking at the analytic market, we can identify 3 main categories. Governed analytics, where it is the role of IT to deliver analytic content, usually in the form of dashboards and reports, on top of semantic models and central repositories like a data warehouse or a data lake. In the last several years, we have seen the growth of self-service analytics, where business analysts within the line of business wanted to have the agility and freedom to connect and explore the data themselves. Skilled analysts were able to create their own datasets, identify insights, create visualization, which were shared across their organization. And lastly, we are still experiencing the growth of augmented analytics, which is really an umbrella term to using advanced techniques to get to insights. It can be by utilizing AI and machine learning, interacting using natural language and chatbots, or a host of other advanced and not always traditional methods. While you can find various tools in each one of these categories, our visions for Inception was to bring it all together. The reason is that separation is artificial. While we have multiple types of analytics consumer in the organization, by the end of the day, they all need to collaborate. It is okay for everyone to consume and interact with information, in the way that it is the most productive for their needs. But if there is no single analytic catalog and platform, how can a self-service user promote his content for use within the enterprise? Collaborate with a mobile user over an insight? Integrate his metric into the organization digital assistants or chatbot? Our vision is that diversity does not mean separation. You should be able to choose the best way for you to interact with information, but still get all the benefits of the platform. In fact, looking at some of the main personas across the organization and their use of analytics, we quickly identify that while some require unique capabilities, most needs will be shared by more than one. And this is how we design our analytic platform. We're also actively looking for opportunities to enhance every aspect of our platform with AI and machine learning techniques in order to make our user experience more productive and streamlined. Today, there are augmented capabilities in every aspect of the product, from data preparation to visual exploration and proactive insights. To serve those needs, Oracle Analytics Cloud created an architecture that consists of 4 layers. Everything in analytics starts with data. When it comes to data sources and connectivity, our goal is to be able to either connect to or bring any type of data that our users need. Analytics really needs to be the Switzerland of information, regardless of the type or location of data. On top of the data sources, we have the analytic catalog. This is really the heart of the platform. Within the analytic catalog, you can find semantic models created by IT side by side to self-service datasets. Everything from massive warehouses down to an Excel file is indexed and discoverable. This is already a significant departure from traditional self-service thinking. While any analyst can be allowed to connect to data directly, import an Excel file or other formats, it is always registered and in some cases stored within the analytic catalog. Knowledge and data does not reside on people's desktop. It needs to have the ability to be shared and, if needed, to be secure. At any point in time, you can come into OIC and ask a question like, show me revenue by product type and city in the Americas. Oracle Analytics Cloud will respond with the relevant data from various sources, such as semantic models IT created. Maybe you have access to the supply chain system, and by the way, 3 months ago you uploaded an Excel file with relevant data. Maybe you should look at this one again. Everything is part of the platform, everything is indexed, everything is discoverable. The Oracle Analytics Catalog also hosts information about machine learning assets, and in some cases, the actual machine learning models. More on that later on our session. On top of the catalog, we have our data preparation capabilities. We tool for data blending, wrangling, and any other type or term of transformation. Analysts can use data flows for pre-processing of data sets, or clean and correct the data interactively using our machine learning powered experience. Lastly, it all ends with the various experiences, which is the visual face of analytics. This is what most people think of when they hear about analytics. Over here we have a host of various capabilities, mainly because different people would want to consume analytics in different ways. Some will access a dashboard. For others, analytics is a PDF report that they receive every day at 8 a.m. Some will do self-service. Others will only use a chatbot on their phone or will never go to analytics as a destination, but will experience it as embedded content within their operational application. The key thing is that however you choose to consume it, everyone is sitting on the same platform. Everyone can collaborate and knowledge can flow within the organization without the boundaries of tools and technologies. Let's dive deeper into each one of the layers and capabilities. Since this is a roadmap session, as we go along, we will try to differentiate existing capabilities versus roadmap items. So please keep in mind that while all demos are done with live instances of the product, not every feature is currently shipped. When it comes to open connectivity, Oracle Analytics Cloud provides connectors to dozens of different sources. Sources can be relational databases, big data, NoSQL, SaaS applications, and generic formats like Excel and CSV. Most of these sources are available for direct access via semantic models. They can be on Oracle Cloud, on your own data center, or a third-party cloud. Access to remote sources is done by using methods that are designed to be performant, scalable, and secure. All sources can be blended together to even create a single visualization from live data coming from relational sources, SaaS application, and an Excel file. Joining these sources together can be done ad hoc while exploring the data, or with our powerful data modeling capabilities. I'm happy to announce two new significant capabilities that are coming to OSC. The first one are multi-table federated datasets. Our Dataset Editor provides our self-service users the ability to define a table, file, or query for analysis while blending was done at the analytics project level. Our new editor will retain those capabilities, but will also allow the creation of data models across multiple sources with predefined joins that can be reused and shared with other users. For BI developers, we are announcing our enterprise-scale Semantic Modeler that can be used to develop and deploy full-featured and large-scale semantic models. The Semantic Modeler will provide the breadth and depth of capabilities that we accumulated over the years for centralized and governed analytics. For those of you that have been actively building semantic models in Oracle Analytics Cloud and Oracle Business Intelligence, this is the next generation of the all-powerful BI admin. In building it, we focused on addressing key learning from years of BI development and listening to our customers, making sure it is designed from the ground up to support large team development and source control. Our vision does not stop there. As I said in the beginning, we believe in a single analytic platform where knowledge can evolve from the analyst workbench into the enterprise system. Within an organization, analysts in different lines of businesses will create many datasets to support their department, managers, and colleagues' needs. They might do it because they just subscribe to a new application, have access to a new data source, or a variety of other reasons. The key element is that they can do it faster and be more agile compared to a full-scale IT project. However, as the organization learns to rely on these new insights and the needs and demands grow, it might make sense to open and evolve the datasets into an enterprise asset. So instead of IT redefining and re-implementing the same knowledge that was accumulated in the analyst datasets over a long period of time, there should be a way to evolve the datasets. Through a process of version control and certification, our plan is to allow these datasets to be published into an existing semantic model or become the seed for a new one. Versioning and certification are important in this scenario, as there is a need to make sure that content that is merged into the enterprise-wide system is certified and approved by IT. Versioning will allow the analyst to continue to work on new versions of his personal dataset, while there is already a certified and published version out there. And one last thing, actually two last things. Being a true platform means that we should be open for you to consume the data in every way you will choose to. This is why we are announcing open JDBC access to Oracle Analytics Cloud. This would mean that the datasets and semantic models that you will create can be accessed not only by every Oracle Analytics Cloud experience, but also from your homegrown applications or other tools that need access to analytic data, to help you ensure that everybody are talking in the same language and seeing the same numbers. In addition, we are announcing the Oracle Analytics Semantic Model Markup language. Our semantics will be defined and stored using human-readable JSON formats to allow our customers to edit them outside of our tool using alternative editors or even modify them via code in various languages like Python. This capability will not only provide much-needed flexibility, but also a great opportunity to partners and implementers to automate and simplify deployments. Let's see some of these capabilities in action. Keep in mind that some of the capabilities that we will present are not yet available. However, all the demos are done using live instances of Oracle Analytics Cloud within our development environments. As we were all hopefully safe at home from the last couple of months, we wanted to feel a bit normal again. So our storyline will revolve around air travel, flight delays, and faraway destination. Since I'm new to Oracle Analytics Cloud, the first thing I need is to get to my data. My airline performance data resides in the Oracle Autonomous Data Warehouse. So I'll start by creating a connection. Many of you have done this in the past, connecting to a variety of sources. And as you can see, our list of connectors is growing with every release. Over here, you can see the upcoming direct connector into EPM Cloud, which allows self-service users to connect to EPBCS and FCCS without any help from IT. We are also working on connectors for remote JDBC sources and Google BigQuery. Going back to my Autonomous Data Warehouse, where I have my airline performance data, I will enter the connection details, drop in the wallet file, enter my credential, and my connection is ready to go. Back at the home page, I can either use the Create button again to start my dataset, or find the connection that I need and just double-click on it. I landed in the newly designed Dataset Editor. Here I can navigate or search my schema to find the tables that I need and either double-click or drag them over. Oracle Analytics Cloud will automatically identify the joins, which of course I can modify if needed. Note that I can add tables from other connections as well, and tables from various types of sources can be joined in the same dataset. The analyst does not need to be concerned about technology barriers or moving the data around when it comes to bringing together data from multiple sources. In addition, for each individual table, I will be able to state if the data will be exported into the OSE in-memory cache or queries will be processed live against the underlying source. Using the tabs below, the Dataset Editor allows me to go into each individual tables and interactively make corrections or additions that might be required. From basic operations like lowercase, uppercase, to more impactful transformation like grouping, binning, search and replace using regular expression, and even creating additional metrics and KPIs. Our machine learning-based data profilers also generate recommendation for each column. Recommendation can be basic transformations, recommended treatment for sensitive data, or enrichment out of our knowledge base. As you can see here, for the destination state column, the profiler identified the column as a state name. Based on that, it recommended more information from the knowledge base, such as country, population, location details, and more. In this case, I'm interested in elevation and population. So all I need to do is to click on each one, and they are added into my dataset. These enrichments are coming from our built-in system knowledge. But in many cases, you would like to extend the recommendation capabilities with knowledge that will benefit your users. This is exactly what we have done here. In this case, my administrator added to the Oracle Analytics Cloud knowledge base maintenance details for individual planes based on their tail number. Data elements such as date of last service, hours spent, and facility were introduced into the Oracle Analytics Cloud knowledge base to be offered to the analyst once the profiler identifies that the original column represents a tail number. As an analyst, I can quickly get to the correct data that I need without looking for any other tables or files to join with or to supplement my analysis. Your use case for enrichment might be different, from product specification, account information, business unit details, and anything else that you might want to expose. But this is far more than just simplifying the lives of the analysts. This is a key example of how we can use augmented analytics to empower self-service users while adding a much-needed level of governance on it. By providing a superior experience that eliminates the need of each individual analyst from finding its own source to join with, the administrator also directed all of them to the source that he or she wants them to use. And by doing so, increase the quality of analysis for each one of the analysts and reduce the risk of insights misalignment. Governance does not mean roadblocks. Machine learning allows us to do it smarter and benefits all sides of the equations. Before I finalize working on my dataset, I do want to share with you one more way that we are planning to enhance your experience and boost your productivity. We are working on introducing data quality insights based on our deep profile process. As you can see here, the insights will provide you with details on data distribution and frequency for every column. They also score the quality of the column and can identify issues. In my origin table, the state column seems to have an issue. It shows that the quality of the data is at 94%. Looking at the insight, I can identify that someone misspelled California on some of the values. I can click on the value to see the impacted rows, and I can also correct the error in the insight itself. Once I've corrected it, the profiler will rescan the column, and in this case, will give my data a clean bill of health. I will finish up by simply naming and saving my dataset.
Hey, Gabby, this looks really great. And I believe you said before that these data sets are shareable with other users. But what if I'm an IT professional that wants to create a large-scale semantic model?
Thank you, Jack, for this very detailed and completely unplanned and unexpected question. Let me show you our new Semantic Modeler that I mentioned earlier. The new modeler is web-based and will eventually carry all the features and capabilities of BI Admin. I can open existing semantic models, create new ones, or start one from an existing dataset. As you can see, while the user interface is consistent with other areas of Oracle Analytics Cloud and the dataset experience, the Semantic Modeler includes a lot more capabilities and depth that developers need in order to deliver enterprise-scale semantic models. As I stated before, we injected years of customers and internal experience in development of semantic models into the new tool, making sure to address key feedback topics. As an example, you can see the Git capabilities integrated directly in the tool. If you recall, the semantic model is defined using our semantic model markup language. This means that you can go into the Git repository and see and understand the actual files. Another valuable addition is the data lineage capabilities, allowing me to see the lineage of every logical or physical element across all layers.
We have a question about the modeler. The question is, I'm an OBIEE developer moving into OAC. When will the new semantic modeler become available, and will it work with all my existing RPDs?
Yes, it is our intent that every semantic model that was developed with recent releases of BI Admin will be compatible with the new modeler, without the need for any migration or effort from the analytics developer.
As you know, Gabby, our customers are already using data flows when they need to do transformations that are too complex for Excel. In fact, analysts are now using data flows over Excel when they need to join, aggregate, transform, and create new metrics. In addition, data flows are also a great visual way to maintain and share these transformations, especially if they need to track how specific results were derived. Now, data flows can already create and consume machine learning models stored in OAC. But I hear you have some exciting announcements in this area as well?
As you stated, Oracle Analytics already allow users to train and consume machine learning models as part of their data flows. These models were stored within the analytics environments. However, we believe that just like data, machine learning assets might exist in different places, within model management platforms, applications, or even a service that you can subscribe to. For that, we are working on the ability to consume external models directly from the OAC interface, to make sure these capabilities are code-free and accessible to business analysts. In this scenario, I would like to predict the likelihood of a flight to get delayed based on 3 definitions: either not delayed or below 0 minutes, delayed by up to 30 minutes, or over 30 minutes. My data scientist created and published a regression-based machine learning model for me that I can use for my analysis. The first step is to get the model that resides on an external machine learning platform. What I can do is basically register the model into OAC. I choose the registration option, the platform the model resides in this case, Oracle Autonomous Data Warehouse, and find the model within the list of models that were made available for me. I can look at the model properties, input, outputs, and other related details before I choose the right one, and eventually give it a nicer name, and I'm done. The model did not move into OAC, but will now be usable within the user interface in a similar way to models created inside OAC. Let's go ahead and use it to score our scheduled flight dataset. Since I want to process my entire dataset, I'm going to use a data flow. We will start the flow by selecting the appropriate dataset. In this case, it's called scheduled traffic. Data flows have many types of transformations that can be used. The one I need right now is the Apply Model tool. Here we are presented with a list of models which are either residing or registered in Oracle Analytics Cloud. I'll pick the model that I registered a minute ago. Within the step editor, I can see and select the model output columns which will be added to my dataset, as well as map the inputs. When possible, OAC will try to map the dataset columns as the model inputs for you, but you can always do it yourself by clicking on the individual items. In addition to custom models, OAC data flows also provide you with access to advanced analytic functions available from the database. Functions like smart sampling, clustering, anomaly detection, and soon text tokenizations and graph analysis directly from the user interface. The most important part is that flows that use Oracle Machine Learning and Oracle Advanced Analytic Functions will be function shipped and executed at scale on the Oracle database, and not on the sometimes much smaller analytics instance resources. For now, all I want to do is to use my model to score the data. So let's finish this data flow by saving the score data into a table. Once I'll enter the dataset and table details, I'll save the data flow and run it. While I will run it interactively without using our scheduler or batch execution capabilities, the actual processing is being done at the database level. Looks like the scoring process is done. So let's have a look at what we got. Back at the home page, we can easily find the dataset that was created in order to start exploring and visualizing the data. The first column I'll grab is the actual prediction column with the three values for early or no delay, represented by 0 minutes or less, delay of up to 30 minutes, and over 30 minutes. To that, I will add flights. I'll choose to see the data as a stacked bar chart with the prediction as the color of the bar parts. Since many delays are caused by technical issues, let's see if the aircraft manufacturing year can tell us something. As you can see, while it sometimes doesn't feel like that when you are the one being delayed, most flights are actually leaving either early or on time. So let's remove all the on-time flights and see what we can find. I also want to represent the data in two different ways, both actual and relative values, so I'll duplicate the visual. On the first one, I'll add a trend line, and the other one, I'll convert to 100% stack bar. What I can start seeing is that newer planes are predicted to have less delays, but when they do have a delay, those are expected to be longer. Given that I'm looking at the prediction, maybe there is preemptive maintenance that I can do to avoid that. This is definitely require much more analysis by introducing other factors like route detail, weather, time of years, and other factors. However, the key point is that OAC make it easy to use machine learning models for predictive analytics and visually explore the results.
That's powerful. But in many cases, people might be skeptical of statistical predictions. What if I want to know why something is green versus yellow?
Glad you asked. As part of the scoring process, Oracle also creates the data to allow you to do the detailed analysis of the results. Let me add the model details that was created for this specific prediction. These columns allows me to deconstruct the decisions made by the algorithm in order to be able to better understand and explain the prediction. The columns will be different based on the algorithm that was used. In this case, the data scientist used a decision tree algorithm to train the model. I can see how many nodes, or conceptually rows, fell into each one of the buckets. I can go ahead and add additional elements of the tree to see every decision at every junction as the tree was processed. This is very useful information, but I'm not going to start navigating up and down the tree using a pivot table. Let's quickly create a tree diagram to visualize it for us. Now I can simply click either on the diagram or the pivot to see the respective areas. I can also use the diagram for navigation and the pivot for additional details. I'll highlight the outcome that I want to understand, and now I can use the diagram to navigate up the tree to see the decision progression of the algorithm. So Jacques, I hope it answered your question. Since I already found myself visually analyzing data, it is probably a good place to hand it over to you to show off some of the new enhancements around visualization and other experiences.
Thanks, Gabby. So over the last few minutes, Gabby walked you through some great capabilities of OAC. But admittedly, the focus has really been all about the data so far. He's taken some raw data, he's modeled it, he's enriched it using some ML and custom knowledge suggestions, and he's even scored some of the data using advanced machine learning capabilities that we get when we connect to an Oracle database. So that's all great, but data alone doesn't solve this problem. At the end of the day, if we want to affect change, we can only do that by effectively communicating with your employees or your customers, or both. So what's the best way to communicate your insights? Well, that's an easy question. The best way is all the ways, or every way. Different people internalize data different ways. Some people want to interact with a dashboard. Others just want to get a PDF in their inbox every morning. Some folks want to explore the data and try to find insights for themselves. And some folks don't even want to log into a computer. They just want to get the information pushed to their phones when it's most relevant. Well, the good news is that OAC supports numerous channels and experiences to deliver the information. So let's shift gears a bit and let me show you some of the new capabilities that are on the way. I'll start by opening up an airport analysis that I built on top of the data that Gabby prepared. So here, we're looking at an overview of flights for the last 5 years from the major US carriers. Behind the scenes, this is hitting a real ADW instance with nearly 28 million flights with over 5,100 routes across 332 airports. Now, these performance tiles give you a great at-a-glance view of where you currently stand, but in addition to this, you can now add spark charts to look at your trend in flights, trends across your routes, or even the distribution of airports across your regions. Now, as an analyst, I'd also like to see what my passenger growth is from year to year. Now, the best viz to see that is a waterfall chart, which clearly lets you see the growth from year to year. So, for example, between 2015 and 2016, we can see that we added more than 26 million new passengers. Well, now you can turn your waterfall into a bridge report, which lets you easily see the contribution that each region had to your growth for each year. So now this dashboard has all the top level information anyone might want, but admittedly it's a little cramped given my screen size. Well, fortunately, we continue to improve our canvas layout algorithms, and now, when needed, you can even stretch your canvas beyond the fold to give all your information the space it deserves. Next, let's go take a look at some interactivity improvements on my delay analysis canvas. First thing I want to do while I'm here is have OAC help me predict the next 3 quarters of delays. So I'll quickly do that by adding a forecast on this delay trend chart. Next, I'd love to have OAC also do a cluster analysis on this diagram that's looking at the average number of passengers and how long those passengers were delayed for. Again, with just one click, OAC can take care of that for me. Now, this diagram is great, but it's currently looking at all flights for all airlines. And what if I wanted to compare how, let's say, Delta looks compared to American? Well, I could easily do that today by coming up here and toggling the prompt to first look at American and then Delta. That works for sure. But what if I wanted to compare any airline side by side? Well, now that couldn't be any easier. The only thing you would need to do is quickly make a copy of this chart right here, and then add our new canvas filter control above each chart. You create these controls the exact same way that you create any other viz. But there's one key difference. Once you add them to your canvas, you can then go to any other visualization on your canvas and decide which one will subscribe to which filter. That's it. Now I can have the left viz focus on American at the same time as the right one looks at Delta. Oh, and all this works in addition to the page level filter too. So here I could look at one specific manufacturer. So the combination of all these things really gives you tremendous flexibility. Next, let me click on these flights that were over 180 minutes to go get the flight level details. So in addition to page level and on-canvas filters, we continue to improve our overall navigation options. So on this canvas, I've got 3 simple visualizations. I've got a map, I've got an image, and a good old table. Now my map and my table are connected together and allow me to see all the flights that originated from a particular state, or vice versa, I can click on specific flights and easily see all the origins. Now the image above is an interesting new addition. If you look carefully, you can see that it's actually a form of a heat map, and the color of the planes represent how many flights that particular model plane had. So you can see that over 60,000 flights in our data set were on a Boeing 737, and ironically, much fewer for the larger ones.
I really like the image, Jack. How hard is it to create one?
Thanks, Gabby. As luck would have it, I happen to have a vignette available to look at right now. In a nutshell, you've got 4 simple things to do. First, you go to the mapping environment and simply upload a background image. Next, you create a map layer like any other map layer. And then third, you start drawing and drawing and drawing. And when you're finished, you just save it off and you've got your new digitized image.
So as I was saying before the interruption, the planes on this image act exactly like any element on any other viz. So I can click on them and it will act as a filter here for the rest of my canvas. So now we see that the table on the right lists all the 737 flights and how many passengers were on them. The final navigation option I wanted to show is via a data action on this table. If I right-click on any of the flights, the data action will pass along all the relevant information required for me to get to the flight manifest in question. Okay, so now let's go back to our canvas and talk a little bit about augmented analytics and machine learning. Up until now, I've been lucky because I've been using a dashboard that someone else prepared for me. But what if I were starting from scratch? This is where the explain feature comes in. Suppose you didn't know where to start, but you knew that you wanted to do something about arrival delays. Well, all you need to do is right-click on delays and invoke the Ask Explain feature. Behind the scenes, OAC is firing various machine learning algorithms to analyze the data. So here on the first screen, we're getting basic facts about delays, and you can already see that 13% of my flights are delayed by over 30 minutes. And below, you can see the breakdown across various dimensions like distance, length. You can see some weather information like visibility at the origin or wind at the destination. Now, a few of these are really interesting to me, so I'm going to go ahead and check them off for later. You can see that OAC identified some key drivers to my delays. It's showing that taxi time, origin, the type of engine, and even the specific aircraft are all key drivers to my delay. I can even get more granular and ask OAC to analyze a specific bin like flights over 30 minutes. Beyond key drivers, OAC actually looks for hidden groups in the data that might help you predict delays in the future. And finally, OAC also performs anomaly detection to identify individuals where the actual data was different than the expectation. To finish up, all I need to do is hit the Add Selected button, and OAC will create a brand new canvas for me to start deeper exploration. For my last demonstration, let me show you how we can use machine learning models to do predictions directly from the canvas. Let me start with a fresh canvas and create a simple chart that looks at my scheduled flights over time. Now we can see the delays in the past, but of course we don't have delays for the future flights yet. So what I'd like to do is leverage some machine learning models to help me predict which flights will have delays in the future. To do that, I simply need to create a scenario, pick from one of my registered machine learning models, and I'll pick this elastic network predictor and create a scenario. Now behind the scenes, it used that model to create an on-the-fly prediction dataset that it joined along my original data. So now I can see the predicted delays in the future, and we can even look at predictions across all my other attributes, like the destination region. So I've covered a lot of capabilities and visualizations today. And although I personally think our UIs and experiences are great, we do realize that some people and companies have very specific needs when it comes to look and feel. That's why we continue to invest in our data visualization SDK that lets you easily integrate our capabilities directly into your web applications. Up until now, I've been showing you everything from a desktop user's perspective in their browser. But it's not lost on us that over 50% of internet traffic is attributed to mobile devices. In fact, a Pew survey recently reported that over 60% of enterprise users say that their first point of contact in terms of business is via email on their mobile devices. Last but not least, the same survey said that most users actually prefer consuming information and news via the experiences on their mobile device. So with that in mind, let's take a look at what we're doing for mobile users. First and foremost, DV content is completely adaptive and responsive. So what does that mean? Well, that means that without doing anything at all, you can simply go to your mobile browser on your phone or tablet and just open up your project, and it will adapt so that you can see and interact with all the great visualizations you created on your browser on the desktop. In fact, you can even create new visualizations directly from your phone. In addition to mobile web, we continue to invest and add capabilities to Day by Day, our personal data assistant. In fact, we just added the ability for Day by Day to alert you when your data reaches certain meaningful thresholds, like you've met your quota, or maybe you're underperforming in a certain region. And we'll be introducing brand new visualizations such as tag clouds, heat maps, and an awesome new map visualization later this year that I'm pretty sure will blow you away. But today, I'm excited to announce the reimagining of the Oracle BI mobile application. We'll be introducing a new Oracle Analytics mobile app that will be laser focused on providing a world-class experience for users who want to search, interact, and collaborate with all their great curated content in their Oracle Analytics cloud environment. In fact, let me show you an early preview of the new Oracle Analytics mobile app. Once the app is open, OAC users should feel right at home with our unified homepage. With a click or a swipe, you can easily find your favorites, view your data visualization projects. You can even upload a dataset directly from your mobile device. The app is integrated with all your other mobile apps like email, and if you receive a spreadsheet or some other attachment, you can upload it to OAC with just a tap and then start analyzing. Finally, you can also find all your classic content, such as answers reports, your dashboards, and even your BI publisher reports too. In fact, while I'm here, let me open this analysis. Without ever leaving the app, you can view and interact with your classic content as you're accustomed to. You can scroll on this table, I can tap on any chart element to get more detail, or drill, and of course, you can interact with your prompts. Where the app really shines, though, is interactivity with data visualization projects. DV projects will be rendered 100% natively on the mobile device, where you'll benefit from the same fast and fluid visualizations that you're accustomed to in day by day. In fact, we'll be extending our native charting library substantially across both apps to support the most popular visualizations in OAC. By default, when exploring a project, we'll optimize it for viewing on the phone. That means we'll adjust the interactive model to quickly allow you to go from viz to viz with just one finger, and of course, we'll support all the expected interactions from the desktop. Now, once in a while, someone who created a report on the desktop might want to view it exactly how he or she created it. For that, we'll have a new desktop layout option that will re-render the project exactly as the author created it. The last thing I wanted to highlight was that Oracle Analytics Mobile and Day by Day will be the first to uptake a new Oracle Analytics collaboration service that will allow you to share and comment across Day by Day and Oracle Analytics Mobile, and eventually your desktop as well. Now, we're still working on all of this, but we look forward to releasing this app and many more updates in the not too distant future. Now, one last thing before I leave. Even though our initial goal with the new app is to have a first-class consumption experience, that doesn't mean the folks in the labs aren't cooking up some crazy ideas for the future. In fact, we've invited Matt Milella from development to tease you all with some of those cool concepts.
Thanks, Jacques. Here in the lab, and the team has been working hard on some new concepts for analytic creation, being able to take data and create projects. It's pretty difficult to do on a mobile device, and so they've come up with some unique concepts. Now, these things may or may not see the light of day. We're experimenting and exploring different ideas, but we want to show them off because we think they're pretty cool and they may end up in the product. So I'm going to go ahead and choose one of my data sets, the summary flight data. And right away, you'll see some bubbles. These bubbles represent our columns. The creative team felt that, it might be a really great way to have a visual representation of the data. And I can pick and choose things that might be important to me, like number of passengers, just by tapping them. And you can see the bubbles have physics and they move around, which makes it kind of fun and a bit of a delightful experience. I'm going to choose arrival, delay, bins, and a few more. And if I want, I can kind of filter. I'll filter on just dimensions. I need to really narrow my set of bubbles because I have too many to pick from. Choose carrier and maybe destination region. And I'll switch back to measures. And I'll add a few more wet measures, number of flights, distance, a few others. However many I want, whatever works for my analytic needs. If you wanted to, you can tap the little button up in the top corner there. And you can see that I can just get the standard way of selecting. The team likes to say it's kind of like the old guy way, referring to me. So they're making it easy for folks who are used to traditional methods for selecting these things. But let's go back to the bubbles because it's a lot more fun. I'll go ahead and hit the check. And what it's going to do is going to create a bunch of visuals for me. So similar to the data experiences we have in other areas, it goes ahead and automatically creates visualizations based on the selections I've made. And it's going to show some dense ones on the top, and then you can see there's a bunch of cards here laid out. And again, borrowing from other apps, we have a bunch of young developers, and I can swipe right to keep that one, swipe right to keep this one, swipe left to remove that one. So it's a really easy experience. Swipe right again, swipe right again. I guess I like a lot of these, so I keep swiping right. And if I want, I can, again, toggle and show a more traditional way of doing this. So I can, just decide that I can turn this off, turn it back on, select another one that makes sense. I have actually 5 visualizations built and selected already for me on a mobile phone. So I'll hit this checkbox when I'm all done. I go ahead and save that. It'll upload the project. I can analyze or use that later on. I'm going to cancel this just for the sake of time. I'm going to go back here, go back one more time, Another concept that we're exploring, really continuing our exploration on and really productizing, is our idea that you can get data from really anywhere, pictures, documents, things like that. So I'm going to upload a new data set, and I can choose either my camera and point my camera at a document, but I've actually previously taken a picture of this, so I'll choose documents, and I'll choose this picture of a document that I took. And right away you saw that the engine went ahead and figured out where the table in this document is, and then selected the values and shows you quickly how it's going to be kind of laid out. I'll just hit done here. And now as a user, again, I can really quickly decide, oh, it didn't quite figure out cost right. So I'm making a number. I'm going to make sales price a number. Segment and product are both dimensions, so I'll leave those alone. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. It's going to save this as a new data set. And I can do, additional exploration with that if I wanted to. So I'll refresh my screen here. There's my data set. I can tap on that, and now you can see the same bubbles that we were just working. So those are some of the cool things that we're working on in the labs, and I hope you enjoy them, and maybe they'll make the product.
Before we will finish our presentation, I just want to highlight some useful destinations where you can experience more of our capabilities and become an active member of our community. You are welcome to visit our Oracle Analytics free public servers under Oracle Analytics Live. These instances showcase various dashboards created by the community. Our online library is full with useful resources like tutorials, plugins, workshops, map players, and more. We also have a YouTube channel to which we are publishing a lot of content, including specific videos on every new features that we introduce. And lastly, we would like to welcome you to join our ID Lab, where our partners and customers can suggest product ideas and vote on ideas posted by others. Myself and my team regularly read all the suggestions and take the ideas that got support from the community in our roadmap consideration. We are only a few months into the ID Lab, and I'm happy to report that more than 25% of the ideas you submitted are either delivered, worked on, or planned. Thank you all for joining us today. My team and I hope the session was useful for you. During the session, my team already answered multiple questions, and we will take some live questions now. So please feel free to continue and post additional questions. Thank you.